Roof. Bill, good morning. Happy New Year.
Morning, guys. Happy New Year to you guys. How's it going?
How were your holidays?
Everything was good. Yeah, we were in New York City, so we had Christmas down there in Times Square. So it was good except for the game. But,
yeah,
we lived to see another day.
That's correct. On to 2025. Am I right about that? Yeah.
That's right.
Ohio State suddenly looking like the best team in the country, I would say.
Yeah, they took that Michigan game and they've turned that into motivation. They look like a very, very good team, no doubt about it.
Can you argue that Jeremiah Smith is the best wide receiver in college football?
Yeah, I mean, I was there for a month, and I will tell you that kid, for a freshman, is probably one of the hardest working young guys I've ever seen. I mean, he was in the building every day. This was like, whatever, in January, working. Great kid, pretty humble kid. You know what I mean? Like quiet. Yeah, he's an amazing player.
Bill, do you like the expanded playoff format, and what would you change maybe going forward?
I would, I would probably change the way they seeded the teams, or at least reseeded. I mean, look, I don't know. I'm not trying to take anything away from anybody. I mean, we got another game today at 4, but the teams are very deserving. But you look at Penn State, playing SMU and Boise State. Look, those are two good teams, but Penn State's an excellent team. So, I guess at the end of the day, you've got the right teams probably going to end up in the Final Four, but maybe the seeding would change. I've always said, too, I think 16 teams would be the perfect number, but maybe that's too long of a season. But I think 16 teams is a good number.
Well, they can change that after this next season. After 2025, they can add teams. I think it's 12 through next season. But they are talking about the buys going to the 4 highest ranked teams as opposed to conference championship. That's what you're saying, right? You'd rather that?
Yeah, and I think you might want to do away with like the conference championship games and try to get, try to do the best you can to get, the 12 best teams, regardless of what, if they've won 11 games or 10 games or more or whatever it is. I think you got to try to get the 12 best teams. The game yesterday, the best game yesterday was, the Arizona State Texas game. That was an awesome game. That was an incredible game. That kid Scattaboo for Arizona State. What an amazing game. But
yeah, if they could revote the Heisman, would he get it after yesterday?
I mean, he should. I mean, he wasn't even invited. I mean, oh my God, he did everything. He ran, he threw, he caught. I mean, he did everything for that team.
And I think he had a nasty hangover. I mean, he was throwing up on the sidelines.
Well, I mean, I was nervous about concussions with the way he looked on the sidelines.
Yeah, was he? I don't know. Was he sick or was he? I don't
throwing
know.
up.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then my question in that game is, what is targeting? Like I don't know. I don't know what targeting is. I mean that hit that the Texas kid had at the end of the game. I mean, I don't know. I think that was helmet to helmet, but I mean, I guess the evidence was inconclusive. I'm not sure.
Is being a college kicker maybe the worst job in the entire world? It's like, I looked at that game yesterday, and I can't imagine being that boy's parent. Like, if I have a son one day, God willing, he can't be a kicker.
What,
that's pressure? A tough spot. They always say that when you look at the specialists, there's not a lot of pressure on the punter, but there's a whole lot of pressure on the kicker. You know what I mean? So it is a tough position to be in for that kid, but. In the end, they won. Texas won, and that was an unbelievable game.
So, Quinn Ewers, it seems like, has a $6 million offer waiting to go to the portal as opposed to the NFL. There seems like there's so much wrong with this. Where do you stand on that? Season's not even over.
It's incredible. It's ridiculous. First of all, you can't even prove that. You know what I mean? Like there's got to be a system in place where, each team has a salary cap. There's got to be documentation, contracts. I mean, there has to be. And to me, there does, like I think I've said this to you guys before, there's got to be some type of college football commission with a college football commissioner with a cabinet of people underneath them that is made up of retired coaches, retired athletic directors that understand football, because who knows if that's true. Quinn Ewers is a great college quarterback. I mean, no doubt about it. But I mean, $6 million and who knows if that's true. It's not fair to the kid,
Right.
But it has to be changed. It has to be fixed in some way.
Bill, do you think, though, that there's a chance that something like this could actually help in the long run the NFL product? Like, you look at the quarterbacks in this year's draft, like, every guy that touches the football field can actually play. I mean, Michael Penix, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix were all in college, it seems like forever, and those reps help them in the long run. And then you're always going to have the uber-talented kids like, your Drake Mays and your Caleb Williams. So could this theoretically, in the long run, help the NFL quarterback product?
There's probably, you probably make a good point there. I don't know. I just think that, like, every year is a little bit different. I think when you look at this year's NFL quarterback class, possibly it could go down as one of the best ones, as we see it play out over the years, because, those guys were well coached in college. They came into the league. They understood how to, run an offense, read coverage, lead a huddle, things like that. Some years are different. I'm not sure how much of it has to do with, staying in school, getting paid NIL and getting all the reps, like you said. But, you probably have a point there. I do think when you look at, like, Jaden Daniels, I mean, that guy, he's one of the better players I've seen in a long time in that league. To be able to come in there and play with the poise that he has and to play with the ability to read coverage, it's so different, Shime, in the NFL than college when it comes to, defensive scheme and the speed of the game and all those different things. But, you probably have a point.
You give a guy the opportunity to design one play, and he suddenly thinks he's a head coach in college football. I mean, how far along are you on designing your play for Bill?
I need to run some stuff by Wiggy. Wiggy wants to.
What are you leaning
edit.
toward? Give us a genre.
Play action pass, baby.
Oh, it is.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Best play in football.
Bill, is that okay? Does that fit in offense wise?
Absolutely. We'll get it. We'll get it in the first game. No question.
You have a name for it yet, Sean?
Yeah, mashed potatoes.
Okay.
That was going to be bongos. Bill, what's life look like for you right now after the bowl game? You have guys that are starting to declare for the draft. What's the future for BC, and how do you get there starting now?
Good future. Really, really feel good about this program. We're recruiting, right? So we actually have a guy coming in this weekend, a transfer portal tight end coming in to visit us. And then we head out on the road on Monday and, recruit. And so I think that's the main gist of it for the month of January. And then February, we come in back off the road and we start our off-season program with our kids. Look, at the end of the day, like I was saying in the beginning, we lost to Nebraska, but, our guys fought. Our guys fought hard. And a lot of guys played in that Nebraska game that had not played a lot in the season. And so, I think that bodes well for the future of the program. The majority of the kids that played in that game will be back for us next year. So, and with the addition of freshmen and transfers and things like that. So I feel really good about the program. We've got to have a great off season. We've got to do a really good job of kind of going back to the beginning and kind of starting all over again. But we'll do that and we'll be back.
If you were Gerard Mayo, would you be starting Drake Maye on Sunday?
That's a very, very, very difficult question. I would tell you, Greg, that I would because I believe that the kid is a competitor, and you never want your team or your organization to think that, when we go into the white lines, that we're not trying to win at the very highest level. And so I would play Drake Maye. If I felt like during the game that it wasn't going well, that he was taking a bunch of shots, I'd probably take him out. But, going into the game, I think you've got to say to your team, to your organization, you got so many people in your organization, you can never give across or give the feeling that you're not trying to do your level best to win the game.
Okay. If you were Robert Kraft, would it be tough to say no to Mike Vrabel if he wants this job?
That would be a difficult question for me to to ask. I think. This is what I would say, Greg. I'm full disclosure. Mike Vrabel is one of my closest friends. He's a great football coach. He worked for me in Houston for a long time. Did an unbelievable job. And he's a hot commodity, right? But the question you have to say to yourself, I think, is do you give a guy more than a year, right? The guy's only been there for a year, right? Yeah. And so do you say, hey, look, we've got to give this guy, you sign him to whatever, a 4 or 5 year contract. Like, we got to give him more than 1 year to see what he can do, to see if he can, get the place on the right track.
Yeah.
That's the question I have to answer, in my opinion. But Mike's a great coach, and Mike's going to have, every one of these teams I believe, are going to come after Mike to hire him, and he's going to have a bunch of options.
You think he'll be coaching in the NFL though this season?
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, no question.
All right, Bill. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. Are we? I think we're talking to you again next week because we'll talk all things college football and NFL and everything. So I appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, you guys are great. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Thank you.